Hello, good morning. Welcome to day 20 of our daily December embodiment series. We are like 2/3 of the way through. And wow, has this been an interesting experience for me? I'm curious for those of you who have been joining a little bit here and there, how it's been for you. Have you been doing your own practice, whether through the self-care garden printouts or by following as a form and structure what I've been doing, or has it felt most resonant match for you just to kind of passively watch and experience? And are you getting something out of that transpersonally through some form of transference? So today we are going to dive back into the book we utilized yesterday, The Drummer and the Great Mountain by Michael Joseph Ferguson. And it is a guidebook to transforming adult ADD, ADHD. And as creatives, as performing artists, we train into having neurodivergence in order to be more creative. And then we also have to shift gears and utilize our very creative, wonderfully divergent experience of how thoughts and imagery and possibility might work and where our focus can be oriented towards, whether that's a natural gift that we already have or something we very specifically tried to hone into as a creative, or a combination of both. There still is a world that we exist within that is structured, that loves consistency, that loves reliability, that really enjoys orienting connection points, intention, clarity, delivery, simple ways of digesting and coming in and out of connection, which are things that I have a lot of resistance towards. I'm both very good at because I used to teach children. And so I know how to break things down very specifically when it's clear that that's what's needed. And I know that I'm helping to provide opportunity for increasing agility or tools or technique, and that it can be both something broken down enough where there's a way to practice the different pieces and parts, as well as enough freedom to still retain some of that beautiful, lovely creative energy that those of us who have a neurodivergent way of moving through the world that feels really intuitive and good to us, that we do want to continue to fold into our lives and not shame, blame, or suppress, or hide, or mask, but that we really want to bring the fullness of ourselves into what we do. This is for you. Okay. So yesterday we read from the life visioning section of this book, and we read about the essential components of visioning. It was expressed that no matter what specific process you use for visioning, that visioning should accomplish the following. And these are the three things that we embodied yesterday. And they are: provide clarity about what you want to create, clarify what you don't want to create a basic roadmap to work from. Okay. And it says, by going through a visioning process many times, it will reveal that what you thought you wanted isn't actually it. I'm finding that a lot throughout this embodiment series, but throughout my work with self-care for performers for the last several years, and really more deeply for over a decade of really trying to own my experience of feeling self-secure enough to claim the agency of artist, of the title of artist, but also then to really reconcile with the imaginings and visionings and possibilities that I've had of the kind of life I've wanted since I was a little girl, and how maybe I didn't want what I thought I wanted. And in some ways, I had hid what I wanted for so long, it was never expressed. So it didn't get the sort of like breath of a dream, even from that childhood state. So the book, The Artist's Way, which I mention periodically as being pivotal in my recovery, my sort of creative recovery, it's a spiritual path to higher creativity. And I love it so much. And a lot of that is building into the breath, that sort of creative life breath of that childhood magic that we used to have, and seeing what would happen if we let some of that free, let some of that go, let some of that be allowed to be a part of how we come into connection with life, our creative energies, and the making and sharing process. So Continuing on here. Today, we are going to step into a visioning step. And there are a couple of steps. We'll see how many we do, but we're definitely going to do visioning step 1 today. And we're just going to stop there for today. And we might make a couple more videos in this series that go into the other steps too, if we really like how this feels today. So step 1 is getting clear about your talents and skill sets. And this reminds me a little bit of a video that I have done before in this same series. Somewhere in the first 15 videos, there were at least one, if not a couple, of videos from the Essential Art Therapy book by Leah Guzman, that there were exercises to really focus on, well, what are your strengths? Can you embody them? And we made a strength shield and divided it into different quadrants and embodied different strengths that we naturally, organically already have. And I think there was another one about embracing our strengths too, which was really great. Which reminds me of this, which is getting clear about your talents and skill sets, because your talents and skill sets can be strengths, and your strengths can be talents and skill sets. They may or may not have the overlap there for you in the way you're thinking about it, but for me, at least right now, they feel very congruent and very partnered in a beautiful way. I'm going to go ahead and read this section. You may already have a clear inventory of what you're talented at and the skills that you've honed over time. However, I find it's helpful from time to time to take stock. A crucial idea may come to you through spending just a little time zooming out and examining the bigger picture of your life. And I think yesterday's experience was me embodying that I really wanted to zoom out and get like almost a fuzzy gaze is what I was saying. It doesn't need to be fuzzy. There can be a clear perspective, but my experience in yesterday was on the fuzzy side. So we'll see if we gain more clarity today. But it really was taking a step back and being able to look from a wider perspective. That's been coming up a lot throughout the course of this embodiment series. Also for me, the desire to step up and back, and not back and down, not up and forward, but up and back, and be able to kind of experience something from there and then become inclusive of the rest of the experience as well. So we all have multiple talents. You do too. And I'm so excited to hear what some of yours are. If you'd like to let me know down in the comments, I would adore hearing what some of your talents are. And abilities. So we all have multiple talents and abilities. There may be one or two that really stand out as the primary ones. However, there are most likely a handful of others that are either lying dormant or perhaps have been swept aside, deemed unimportant or impractical. Oh, that one, the impractical one. I feel like most of my skill sets are seemingly impractical, and I'm learning how to invite them into practicality and bridge the space between magic and pragmatism and let there be some practical magic to the way in which I show up to my process of connecting with you and others, and not be so afraid to connect in that way. And a lot of what I've been working through in this series is also the healing of the wounding that a lot of us have, where we're afraid to share some of our insights, some of our way of seeing, some of our ways of intuiting different components of life, or the way in which we understand the world in a certain way. And to some degree, I've needed to unpack my perspective and allow it to soften so that it's not being gripped by fear. And part of that is through just showing up and practicing and being okay with what does or doesn't happen between the me and the metaphoric you, the gaze of the other, the societal witness that is reflected from this very niche practice that I have, which can often, depending on who is witnessing and how I'm sharing, can sometimes create friction. And sometimes that friction winds up in comments or winds up in interpersonal dynamics that can be really uncomfortable. And I totally get there are trolls on the internet. There are people that they want to have an impact upon someone's experience. And part of that impact is to tear down or to push into in a certain way that feels hurtful. I want to, one, be aware that that is something that happens in human experiences, especially for those of us who've been hurt, that sometimes we don't know how to live life without targeting and going in. And also, there is sometimes a strategy that can work, not necessarily in this trolling perspective, right? But for those who are like, but sometimes I want to get into the heart of something and I'm not sure what or how, and I don't want to feel like I'm being abusive or trolling or bullying or whatnot, but there's something there. I think it's really important to hold that with like a strategic awareness and treat it more like surgery. And if you're a surgeon, that we don't go in to perform surgery willy-nilly just on passersby, which is something that a lot of us who have sort of intuitive insights, I've spoken to a lot of my mentors about this, and the awareness that not everybody wants to hear what you see. Not everybody is interested in the truth. Not everybody is ready to receive whatever clarity might be very clear for you that you think would be helpful to share, and it might not be welcome or welcomed. And that can be really hard because sometimes it's like, well, this is my gift. I feel like I'm supposed to share it and I'm not able to, or I feel like there's this block that keeps coming. And I felt that a lot of my life, that I would get up against something and I'd be like, I know I can't share my honest truth of what I see. Like I can see it's not welcome here. And my codependency kept me still trying to relate and then to find different ways and then to maybe accidentally, inadvertently become very manipulative because I'm trying to navigate connection in a very incompatible space. So I'm either hiding myself and being in some ways deceitful, I suppose, at least energetically, like hiding myself in order to connect. Or I have been showing up hoping that if I just say the right thing in the right way, maybe they'll gain an insight. And then that becomes like manipulative because it's not really consensual. It's just sort of, maybe it's planting seeds, and maybe there's a way in which one can utilize something similar to that is not manipulative, but is like an offering of possibility. And maybe sometimes I did it that way too. And I think there were plenty of times also that I learned through just my socialization as a biracial woman who was a performing artist, that was often taught and socialized to show up into supportive roles or into roles that were about filling a need, a purpose, and putting my own needs aside and finding the way or ways in which I could show up regardless of how I was feeling in order to serve the experience. And I think there can be a degree of how do we serve an experience? How do we still honor who we are? And maybe not all of us gets to show up for that particular point of connection, but that we don't make something wrong or bad about ourselves when the all of us isn't necessary for a key turning piece, and that we don't fracture from the all of ourselves in order to fit into this keyhole. We just are like, okay, well, I have the pieces and parts for that key. Let me turn it, but I'm still a full human body. I don't shapeshift into the key itself to try to open the door. I don't know if that metaphor made sense to you, but okay. Chatty, ramble. Here we come back into connection with these pages. Where did I leave? I'm probably going to go back a bit. Okay, I had said that we all have multiple talents and abilities. There may be one or two that really stand out as the primary ones. However, there are most likely a handful of others that are either lying dormant or perhaps have been swept aside, deemed unimportant or impractical. Okay, we did read that. So now we get into the exercise, the practice, and this one is called talents and abilities. On a sheet of paper or on your computer or in an embodiment exercise, write a list of all of your talents and abilities. List as many as you can think of, anything from I'm good at chess to I'm a skilled graphic artist. Use these questions to spur you on. What is it I do when I'm in the act of doing it? Time flies by because I'm so engrossed in the activity. Next question. What have others told me I'm gifted at? This often relates to something that was of benefit to them in some way. 3, what activities provide me with a sense of self-confidence? And after those 3 questions, it says, that's a good start. However, most people have gifts and talents that are lying dormant, yet to be uncovered. Take a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself, if I could do anything in the world and had an infinite amount of time and money and had no obligations, what would I do? That's a wonderful question. Take a moment and let it sink in. Then start writing. I love that. I like to work backwards, I've mentioned. So I'm going to start with the last one and see if I can work backwards from there up to the first one. And the last one was for the embodiment today. If I could do anything in the world and had an infinite amount, if I could do anything in the world and had an infinite my brain just scrambled because I tried to start it and then something dropped and it's like, no, okay, what if I don't do it backwards like I like to do and do it forwards? We're going to try that and see if that's more smooth, if my nervous system now is like associating going backwards with stress. Meet yourself where you're at. That's what I'm doing here. Okay. So it was on a sheet of paper or through your embodiment, list as many talents and abilities that you can think of. So I am now a list of my talents and abilities. I am now a list of my talents and abilities. I want to number 1, good at organization. Number 2, empathetic and can find the heart of things. Number 3, has a lot of resiliency when aligned to clarity of intention. Number 4, ready, willing, and able to meet you where you're at. Number 5, always desirous of finding something smooth, connected, clear, and easeful. Number 6, heart-centered, softened through the body, trusting of life's flow. Number 7, willing to stand firmly when needed and take a stand for what is most honest. Number 8, I feel stopped here. I open my eyes and I feel stopped here. Maybe stillness, clarity of stillness, and the willing to come to center. 9, already holding something tender with the knowledge of how to care for vulnerable aspects of oneself, myself, yourself, humanity's sense of self. 10. So deep, so raw, so honest, so here. Okay. Da-da-da-da. There we go. That was my list of 10 things. Those are my talents and abilities. I know they weren't super straightforward. Some of them kind of were, some of them weren't. The first one was like organization. That's pretty straightforward. Okay. And then it's like the further down I got, the more, well, I don't know. I guess it depends on how you interpret them, whether you feel that they are more poetic and esoteric or very like practical and you get it. Okay. Use these questions to spur you on. So this is our next one. What is it I do that when I'm in the act of doing it, time flies by because I'm so engrossed in the activity? So what is it I do that time flies by because I'm so engrossed in the activity? I think it's just being in this kind of space, this creative, curious space of like, what's present, what's alive, what can I meet in new ways? How do I improvise my relationship with architecture, with shape, with space, with heart through the body into the ethers, allowing there to be like a luscious, delicious, all form of integration into the sort of nexus of being. That's what I love. That's what I love. How do you market that? I don't know. Okay. What have others told me I'm gifted at? This often relates to something that was of benefit to them in some way. What have others told me I'm gifted at? Everything I hate doing. That's what comes up. Everything I hate doing, people tell me I'm good at. And anytime you say everything or all the time or always, it's usually a sign of like there's some traumatic content there and there's a pattern to like unpack. So let's go there and let's see if we can unpack it. People tell me I'm good at organizing, which I actually do like sometimes. People tell me I'm good at producing. People tell me I'm good at teaching and leading. So it's just, but then I like want to tear it up because I'm like, no, I don't want to be good at it. Why? I don't know. It's like I'm frustrated. It's like, I think it's because there's not the payoff. Like, you're good at it, but I don't get like the appreciation. Thank you so much for helping me with that. Wow, that meant so much. And I do more and more now, the more I've stopped doing it for environments where it feels like there was no reciprocal value of my time, attention, and a lot of worth. Maybe you relate to this too. I feel like this is a common wounding that a lot of us have, especially those of us who are creative artists and also have the skill and ability to be more pragmatic. And I do know people who have had both and very specifically are like, therefore, I'm not going to share this part of me because people will exploit it. So I'm really clear that I've been exploited. The thing that I'm good at has been very misused and very underappreciated and over delivered. Gosh, I could just like, I see myself curling in on myself like a nautilus shell and then just crying and weeping for 1,000 years. It feels like this is it's like a curse or something. It feels like this is my destiny, not from a place that feels good, destiny, but from like I'm destined to poverty. I'm destined to be unappreciated. I'm destined to keep working and trying and showing up in these ways that are ways in which people who make money doing them make a lot of money doing them. But I, for some reason, only donate my time doing them. And because I don't want to, or I can't, or I don't know, I have this idea that like I don't fit into the experience of someone who utilizes those gifts and skill sets as a way to make money. I utilize them to help people do what I love, which is that free stuff. But I've been utilizing my stuff to help other people do the free stuff, but I don't get to do the free stuff. Why is it that I keep pouring all this stuff that yes, I'm good at and yes, they value because they get to do the free stuff and someone else just supports them and then they don't like, and then what? I want to go into that space and be like a rewriting of that dynamic. And part of that is actually already happening in real time in the ways in which I'm relating with others now in my life versus historically. But I want to like feel what it would be like to be them, maybe the them that has hurt me, the them that is extracted from me, I feel this like bile rise up in my stomach. This is the metaphoric them, right? For everybody who's watching this out in the ethers, who's felt exploited for your gifts and talents of whatever they are, even if it's not the same as what mine are. But you feel like you've been taken advantage of, and you feel like you have given so much and not gotten anything in return that has really nourished you. This left arm, here we come back with that left arm again. That feminine side. Where I have like my socks and my dress and my like sweater. I feel so like frumpy house mom. And I'm at the point right now in my life where it's like, I've stopped caring. Like, I don't care anymore. I just don't care. And part of that is defeatist. Like, I just feel defeated. I don't care. There's nothing left to care about. I've tried so hard for so long to do things like the right way or to do things intentionally. And it's not that I'm not doing things intentionally and trying to find more rightness, but it's like, fuck, I'm just tired. I'm tired. I don't want to try so hard. And I'm aware that as I'm saying all this, I'm like, I had stepped into the other, right? And then my belly hurts. And I'm curious what happens is from this other, I look down at myself and I see the her that I was exploiting. And I want to be like, but I couldn't do it without you. Don't you get it? I couldn't do it without you. And then I want to sit down here and hear and receive that they couldn't do it without me. And I want to be like, I recognize that. And for some of you, I'm so happy to help with that. And for others, you need to treat me better. Just because you can't do it without me doesn't mean you have license to treat me in a discarding way. Just because you couldn't do it without me doesn't mean that you still get to take all of the credit for what you did, when so much of it was because I provided the stable ground for you to do it from. And I'm invisible here with nothing to show for it, except for your celebratory success, whatever. And if I had some sort of exchange, if there was some sort of like a job or monetary exchange, which most of the time there wasn't, it was still so much less than the value I was providing. I feel my little left eye twitch. And I'm going to come over here. Remember that this left arm, which is the same left arm that was sort of like that broken wing from that sort of upper gaze that I was at before. And I want to be like, I'm really clear that hearing that put me into like fight, flight, freeze. And I want to be like, you don't get to tell me what to do. I'm not allowed to what? I'm not good enough. You don't think I'm good enough. You don't like, it's like any kind of a call for accountability or call for like acknowledgement of the experience over here is met with complete dysregulation. And like, there's no meeting. And so I've been just like, well, I can't connect with you, but I'm curious if this piece, this part has some inner part that wants to connect. And I feel myself curling in. I feel very protective of my heart, like really scared that you're gonna like deliver like a emotional kill shot. So I'm like, I want to cover myself. I don't think anything else today is going to happen here. I think it's just like an awareness that that's part of this experience. Okay. Next one. What activities provide me with a sense of self-confidence? What activities provide me with a sense of self-confidence? Oh, I want to mix this up. I want to like blend the energies of what just happened and transpired. I want to integrate, mix the bowl of like send it somewhere, mix it, allow it to become something valuable, something important, something necessary. And I'm aware that this like scared part here is so much of what I desire to mix in, but it's like the clumps inside the bowl, you know, when you're mixing batter, you're like, get the clumps out. This feels like such a clump. It's such a clump. It's just, I just want to shake. I want to shake because, you know, they say shaking helps you remove trauma. So what if this part just did some physical activity to shake themselves up? Shake, 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 shake. And another thing that helps is windmill arms. What if this piece just did some windmill arms? Hey, I'm okay. And another thing that helps is to just sort of pat the body. A little somatic resourcing. It helps you feel safe and like you're inside yourself. You feel a sense of safety. And I want to come back now and see, okay, from here, can this embodiment receive that? What's happening is, nope, don't want it. It doesn't deserve me. I don't want to deal with it. Even after all of that, it's just like, it still feels so petulant. See what's next. Take a moment, close your eyes, and ask yourself, if I could do anything in the world and had an infinite amount of time and money and no obligations, what would I do? If I could do anything in the world and had an infinite amount of time and money and had no obligations, what would I do? And I know I'm just like putting my hand on my heart. My right hand is on my heart. That's the masculine side. And it's just saying like, hey, I'm here. I feel you. I've got you. This feels more like the just feeling what it would be like in my body to have all the time and resources I need. More important than like, what would it be? It feels more important to be like, can I feel that way? Regardless of whether or not that's how it is right now. So I want to stand up and just be in that. I feel like what happens is there's a digestion piece that feels like it's a split between these two pieces and parts that were just in that dynamic. And if I felt truly safe, if I felt truly like I had all the time, money, resources I needed, I would really want to hold space for both. And I don't know if I could find my way through on this side. This side, meaning that sort of broken winged, petulant one. I don't know if I can, because I was talking in my project, Self-Care for Performers, or this is Self-Care for Performers, in my other project, Pages in Process today, about the idea, I hear a lot of coaches say this, you can't receive from fists. From fists are for fighting. It's for inner conflict. It's for self-abuse. It's for combating the world, right? So when something's like tense like that, the way to really shift is to allow there to be a softening and an opening of the hands for whether an offering or a receiving, but the energy can flow through there. And what I feel is that over here, there's like, it's just so frenetic and so dysregulated and so ungrounded. And the thing with the hand unclenching is that I learned this as a massage therapist. I said the same story earlier in my Pages in Process story, but what I learned was like sometimes you lift someone's arms to like massage their arms and they like tense up, like don't move for me, right? And it's hard to like, you can't, it feels weird to massage someone when they're like completely tense like that. It's like not consensual. Their body's like, don't touch me. So you're like, okay. So what I have learned to do is I have to like allow them to feel that they might be able to trust me. And if they don't, then I do a different kind of massage than if they are able to trust and relax. So it might look more just like little squeezes or like a more surface oriented brush, as opposed to like really getting in there and working the experience. To really get in there and work the experience, you have to have a degree of suppleness. You have to have felt somatic consent. Otherwise, you're just going to hurt the person or like feel uncomfortable while you're participating, right? And that goes for any kind of intimacy, whether that's being intimate enough with someone to receive or give a massage, whether it's being intimate enough with someone to be in a scene with them as a scene partner, or a dance in a dance partner, or a vocalist and a musician, or a writer and a director, or whatever it's going to be, or even romantic partnership, right? Or family dynamics. When there's a degree of intimacy involved, it's so important that the body feels safe enough to trust the relationship, why you're there together. And if there's a lack of trust on your end or a lack of trust on the other's end, you have to meet yourself and the other where they're at. And sometimes that means you don't get to give the kind of massage that feels best, which is why I no longer work as a massage therapist, because I don't like massaging the general public. I enjoy nuanced, fine-tuned, interesting healing processes that might have to do also with body-based integration and like manipulation of muscles and patterns of energy. But it's hard to find people who are interested in that. It's also, I think, maybe hard to find people who are interested in that way of coaching as well, which is what I do. I work on that really fine-tuned level. But the thing is if you can work on that fine-tuned level, you can really become renewed in a restorative way, in a really like deeply rooted, grounded, integrative way. And it can show up and have longer lasting results. I mentioned to someone yesterday about a story about one of my clients I saw, I think 3 times when I was working as a massage therapist, and they had a series of symptoms that were really intense. It was like lupus and PTSD and fibromyalgia and anxiety and depression. And it was so much they had diagnoses for. I saw them 3 times, and the 3rd time, I could just tell there was something in the nervous system that was like not trusting, sort of like I was doing that, but it was mostly like the rib cage behind the heart. And so I just put my hand behind their ribs and I was like, hey, yeah, soften to gravity. I know it might not feel like gravity is trustworthy, but scientifically, gravity is there and the earth is there. And if you release into it, my hand is below you, which will catch you. The table is below my hand, which will catch us. The earth is below the table, which receives all of it. And I just sort of started talking through the layers of connection pieces into what would be stable. And they had this moment where they completely softened and opened. And then afterwards, they like sat up off the table and like went on this long description of the journey they went on and was like, I don't know, did you know that? Could you see what was going on? I was having such a vivid experience. I was like, no, like, I mean, I saw your body was responding and I was speaking to what was present and there was some emotions that I could feel, but like I wasn't reading your mind, even as I was tracking your somatic experience and how that was manifesting in between us. And there was a degree of transference with emotional content. So I was navigating that. Anyways, they told me this whole story and how there was like a degree of like, I can't trust life anymore because I had this experience. I can't, and I won't. And how dare you ask me to try? And then at some point, something happened and there was just a release of that and a willingness to surrender. And I was like, wow, that was great. And then the next week, they came back, not for a session. And they said, I haven't been able to work in, I can't remember how long it was, but a substantial amount of time. And they were really worried about long-term effects of like what happens if they're just disabled the rest of their lives. They said that all of their symptoms had been gone for that week and that maybe it was 2 weeks, I can't remember, but they came back a week or two later. All of my symptoms have been gone. And I'm able to work again. And I was able to quickly get a job and I'm starting my new life. And thank you so much. Is that what usually happens with clients? No, it does take a certain kind of willingness on their end and a bravery on my end to meet them where I think they need to be guided in a way that's safe enough for me. And that particular client, their body was safe enough where I trusted their energy in whatever was going to happen. I trusted them to contain it or to move through it or to process it, where it didn't feel like it was going to like bite me or explode onto me in a way in which I would be injured. Sometimes there's explosive natures of energy and it just kind of ripples out and it doesn't feel like it hurts or injures me. And that's such a beautiful thing. And I love being present for that in sessions where it feels like there's this life force that gets liberated and it just becomes more of who they are. That I live for that totally all day. Yes. But there is some of that thrashing that I have in that sort of like petulant version where it's like all the coping strategies like come out and there's this like death throes of the ego or the protective layers, right? And that will happen sometimes in the group dynamics, which is why it's been so scary to like do this publicly on social media or on YouTube. But I've been asked very specifically that I'm supposed to learn how to do this work like this, not necessarily like this. So here's me trying. Thank you for joining me today. I think we've talked through what we needed for today's session. And I'll be back tomorrow. And if you'd like to join the self-care garden, it would feel so nourishing to have your support, your patronage for all of this work that I'm putting out on a daily basis. I'll see how things continue to go with self-care for performers, but my intention is to at least release once a week videos once things shift. But the value of the content that I'm providing, I just know, I know that there is value, and finding match cards for those of you who also see and sense and understand the value, and helping us find a way where we can cycle in and out of supportive resourcing for what you need to also meet yourself where you need to meet yourself in order to keep moving through life is what I hope to continue to foster, whether that's through mentorship and creative connection cycling. I have a 3-month, 6-month, and 12-month option. And that's all on sliding scale. So hit down in the description box if you'd like to set up a clarity call where I'll just ask you about what your needs are. And if you want to ask me questions, you can. And if it feels like a right fit, we can talk about that. There's also a holiday healing special, which is just 3 sessions sliding scale, which is a great thing if you're not sure if you want to do the full 3 to 12 month options and just kind of want to get a taster. Yeah, I think those are my things right now. We've got the self-care garden, we've got the private mentorship for cycles of time together. And then we have the holiday healing special. So I would love to see you in one of those. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to let me know with a little thumbs up, and feel free to share with anyone who you think might value this content. And subscriptions are always lovely too, if you want to stay in the know for the release of the rest of these daily December embodiments, and moving forward from there, at minimum once a week, videos of some form of practice. And it'll keep evolving as far as what the practice looks like. Here, I'm finding that through Pages in Process, my other project, they really enjoy doing like a, hey, this is what we did this last month. This is what I'm thinking we're going to do this next month. And then seeing how that goes, and then doing, so this is what we actually did last month. Maybe it was exactly the same. Yay. Maybe it was more. Maybe it was kind of different. And here's, based on that, this is how I think will help support us best moving forward. So my intention is to keep working that way and keep finding greater alignment with you. And I do have that private Facebook group that all Self-Care Garden members are invited to join. And if you're already over there and you're a member of my community, I would love to hear from you in any pictures, videos, comments, posts about your journey and how you are stepping into more self-security in the face of societal pressures, in the face of creative indoctrination, and in recovering from performance wounds and potentially addiction or abuse to performance cycles and training dynamics. So my heart to you, wherever you're at, we're in this together, and also how beautiful each of our journeys is, so unique. We're looking forward to connecting with you more. See you tomorrow.